Hello again, and welcome to another episode of Passing the Torch, a pro jeweler teaches. This is Steph the jeweler coming at you again. I was working on another project. It was a brooch, a flower brooch is what I am in the process of right now. As you can see, this is the composition of what we're making. And we are making it out of sterling silver and tourmalines, a little bit of CZ maybe to have a little white sparkle, so that'll be fun. As for a customer, I am a 30-year fine jeweler. I do a lot of repair, but I am a custom jeweler. I do a lot of engagement rings, things like that. And today I get to work on a beautiful sterling silver brooch. The original composition is actually from a fine jewelry piece, royal jewelry that is gorgeous that my customer loved. And so we're doing our own version of that. So where I left you with the last video was I was starting to cut out the flowers. And I showed you in the last video how to put these on the metal. I've got these glued to the metal in a very specific way. So check out that other video so you can maybe watch them in succession so you can learn about how to cut shapes out of silver. That's what we're doing now. We're going to construct the entire pendant, hand fabricate. We're not doing any casting on this one. We're straight up just building this beautiful brooch. I am going to put a finding on it so it could be worn as a pendant as well. So I am using my jeweler's saw again, as we discussed last video, and I will be doing more videos. I want you guys to check about the tools, how to use them, how to change the saw blades, things of that nature. In the last video I showed you, this is a lubricant called Burlube that you run against the back side lightly of your saw blade, and I always wipe off the teeth in the front of the saw to keep them clean. They cut better when there's nothing in them. Okay, so as you remember from the last video, we want to have our sheet in the middle here of the V on our bench pin, and it supports it, because if it's rocking, it's going to break this little blade. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and start sawing, and I'm going to go right up to my line, the line of the design. You always want to try to keep your line if you can. That way you know that you are in where you want to be. Now I'm going to show you something that is very hard to do, and this is the easy way to do it. Now be sure you have Burlube on your blade. Sometimes people just back it out, but I find that sometimes it sticks. It's a little hard to get out, and a lot of times you'll break your blade. But as you can see, I'm at a 90 degree angle? I don't know. I'm at a point. Do you see I'm at the point on the inside of that flower? And then I need to turn and go back out. So what I'm going to do is show you a technique to turn your blade completely around, because you can't do it like this. It'll break. It's too tight in there. Okay. So what we do is we take the blade. I'm going to put my fingers on either side to balance it, but I'll show you here real quick. We want to keep our line straight, like I showed you in the other video. We don't want to rock our hands back and forth. We want to keep it straight up and down. As we are going up and down slowly, we start turning the metal slowly while the blade is moving. Very slowly. Can you see this? Very slowly. And I am creating a little area for the blade to turn itself in. And if the blade breaks, it breaks. Don't worry. Now, if you feel like there's some tension, let it go. And the blade will find where it needs to be. Because if you push it too much, it's not going to do what you want. It's going to do what it wants, which is usually break. Like I said in the other video, this is a 1/0 size. And that's the size of my saw blade. Now, do you see how that did? Now I'm turning it a complete different direction. It has a little bit of a pinhole there, but that's okay, because we're going to be shaping and moving these flowers around, be real sculptural with them. So, But this saves me a lot of time and a lot of trouble and from breaking a blade. So now I'm going to, in this case, I'm going to keep my fingers back so you can see. Then normally you would want one on either side of the V holding that sheet tight. Okay, so now I'm just going to lightly go, oh, it skipped up. There we go. I'm going to turn it just enough so I can start my next flower petal. You see what I'm doing here? Just going up and down slowly. And it's just going through this metal like butter. Isn't that cool? If you have a nice sharp blade, that will happen. And keep it lubricated. So sometimes, like right now it's starting to stick, so I'll push it all the way down to the bottom. You can let it go and then take your lubricant. Now it doesn't have to be Burlube by name. You know what a lot of times I used to do, especially back in art school, is I would use just a small travel size of bar soap. And you just break a little piece off of that, and that works just as well. And you just kind of lightly run it up the back and then brush it out of the front of the teeth and go back to it. So then it should slide up, see, a lot easier. So now I'm keeping the saw blade straight up and down, and my hand is not holding the handle very tight. What I do is, I'll show you guys one more time. You can put your thumb at the back, and these fingers should be pretty light, holding it lightly. And basically, you're just letting the saw blade do its work on the saw frame. I'm not necessarily pushing. So here I go. I'm turning it a little bit, keeping my blade up and down. I'm going around. And I'm moving the metal as I'm moving the blade. So see, I turned a little corner. Can you see that on the detail? And I just keep going and going. Sterling silver is a really fun metal to work with. There's a lot of jewelers that will not work in it because it has some very different properties. So sterling silver has, so if you're soldering it and you need your solder to melt, the entire piece of metal has to be hot before one spot will flow. And it's really interesting because gold is the opposite. You can actually solder in one place, and as long as that area is hot enough, the solder will flow, but the whole piece doesn't need to be hot. So I think that's so interesting. And then platinum is a whole nother animal completely. Platinum needs so much heat that it will literally smoke a diamond, which means it will almost ruin the surface of your diamond, and it has to be recut. It looks like if there's a smoky surface on the top. It's really incredible. And platinum needs so much heat that it smokes out a diamond. It's crazy. So a lot of times doing repairs on platinum, you would need to remove the stones in order to do the repair and then reset them back in, which is problematic at times. But now we have lasers in the jewelry industry, and that's what I do all my platinum work with, a laser. Now I have that, which is a blessing. So thankful for that. Oh, I'm slowly turning, as you can see, turning my metal. Now I'm coming back out again. It's getting a little sticky, so I'm going to add some more. I'm blowing off the silver dust. I add a little more Burlube. Now I have a drawer. I don't know if you can see it. Do you see the drawer in my bench? Most jewelers' benches have drawers, and that is what we catch all our metals in. All the dust, all the little pieces. And you save it and send it to the refinery. So don't get rid of your dust. You keep it. All your little pieces and parts, you save it. You can either melt it down for casting, Or if you get enough of it, you can send it to a refinery, especially in gold. You want to do that. Oh, we're getting there, slow but sure. I blow on it every once in a while, get the dust out of my way. Okay, I'm just slowly turning the metal as I'm turning my blade to get around the corner of that petal. This is a really fun industry. I watch a lot of TV, listen to music, entertain myself while I'm working because, you know, right now you're having to concentrate, and I know that, to learn this craft, but after 30 years, like me, my hands are almost on autopilot. So I actually can, once I know my plan and what I'm doing, I just start doing it. And I'll sit and I'll listen to some TVs or movies or something, or sometimes a friend will come and sit with me while I'm working and chat with me. That's always fun. But distracting now, so sometimes I have to try not to do that too much. I get distracted easily. Just found out I'm ADHD. I'm going to be 54. It's hilarious. I've known my whole life, but it appears that I am. So, but I've always had coping mechanisms for that. And so if anybody ever feels like, you know, they can't do something because of a disability or a challenge, don't feel that way, because you can. You just have to learn to work around it. Back when I was a kid, they didn't know anything about that kind of stuff. Okay, so we're on the last petal now. I know this is riveting TV here, but it's part of the process. Oh, see, it's getting sticky. No more burlap. You do need patience, but I tell you what, this is such a rewarding profession. Because when it turns out your customer or your loved one or even yourself, you're just so happy with the result, it makes it worth all the work. Okay, here's the first one. Do you see how it's coming out? Ta-da! Look at that guy. That's great, right? See? And as I showed you in the last video, I'll show you real quick. We used rubber cement to affix this paper to the metal, but it just peels right off and doesn't leave a mess. Here, I'll get it started. Can you see that? I'll use some tweezers so you can see it. Not my fingers. See how that just peels right off? Look at that. And it has perfectly shiny, unobtruded, if that's a word, metal underneath. I'll show you here. And just pull it back and it's like perfect. It's amazing, right? It's those little tricks that help you get these perfect little details. See that? So, and what's nice is, as I showed you in the other video, when you push this off, the rubber cement just comes right off. You just use your finger and look at that. You just rub it off and it's clean. There's no like adhesive on there. It's just boom, ready to go. There you go, see? So you can sit with me and we will cut out the other flower. Then we have to do all the leaves. So it is a lot of work. See? Now what else are you doing? You might as well learn a new profession, because you can work for yourself just like I did. I raise my kids, take days off if I need to. It's a lot of fun, and it's flexible if you're your own boss. Now, I enjoy working for other people as well. A lot of fun too. And that's something that you might really enjoy. I think it's a good way to start because you'll learn a lot and you'll learn from other jewelers, which is invaluable, I think. You know, experience to see how to do things and sometimes how not to do things. As you learn that as well. Personally, I recommend not working for a big chain. I did that for a little while, and the people were lovely, but the job was the worst. So I really recommend small independent shops. Just, start out as an apprentice. I remember when I first was starting in a shop, so I'm going to be 54, and I was 20 years old, and I was taking some metals classes, and I'd take my projects into this jewelry store. It was just a small independent custom design place, and I just showed him my work. He didn't care to see it, but I showed him anyway. I think sometimes personality goes a long way. Just be persistent but nice. And I would show him my project. That poor guy. It took about 3 weeks, 4 weeks of that, and he finally hired me. So that was before CAD and computer generated images, CAD design and all of that. And we made our models by hand. We would carve waxes, of which I will teach you how to do that as well. It's kind of a lost art. And that's how I started, as a wax carver. And there were these 2 other girls that, well, actually 3, but 2 of them that were wax carvers, really, really good. And they taught me. So that was really cool. And then the owner had this son. He was a young guy, and he did a lot of their repair. And so that's where I sized my first ring. Well, that was pretty cool. I might have been 21, maybe. Might not have been 21 yet. But that's when I started. So it's been a long journey, but a fun journey. It's gone fast, actually. It's hard to believe it's been that long. I had mentioned in the other video, I was home with my kids doing this for flexibility, which was awesome. Once I got married, I've been married 30 years now. And then I would do like art fairs on the weekend when my husband was home from his job. There, I just broke one. Okay, let's show you how to change a blade. Get out a new blade here. Now here are some blades. You can see that, the 1/0 there. I don't know if it's backwards or not. There it is. I think it's backwards on this video. I'm not sure. But anyway, this is some that I use. You can use other, just get decent ones. You don't have to spend a ton of money. You don't necessarily have to use these. But here's how they come. See, there's just a bunch of them. They come at like a gross, which is 12 at a time. See? And so, you see those? So I would get one out, and they come wrapped up with a wire, and you just be careful to undo them with a wire. So, all right. So here's how we change a blade. Can you see? Okay, so I at the end here, all right, I lean that against, maybe I should take the bench pin out of the way for a minute so you can see how. I'm going to undo the seat clamp, take off my bench pin for a minute, and I want to show you how to change your saw blade. Okay, my hands hurt. I have basically carpal tunnel from so many years. So what you do is I use my pliers, that you can maybe do it by hand, but you open up the little butterflies there, and these little broken pieces fall out. But I keep a few on hand. It's really great for placing glue. Sometimes you have to glue something for a costume jewelry repair. You don't take the glue bottle and dump it on. You just use a little bit at the end of it. It's almost like a little pin. It's great for that application. Okay, so I take my blade. Can you see the blade, the small blade here? Okay, there are teeth on this, all right? And you want it so they're facing down and out. You want the teeth facing out this way and going down. So when you run your finger up it, it sticks, see? And when you're going down, it's just smooth, correct? But you want it so that your finger kind of sticks a little when you're going up, all right? So I put one end in here and I turn the nut. Now we're going to make this super duper tight because we need a lot of tension. So do you see how I'm holding it against my chest here? And you push in, all right? once you tighten that nut there. And then you push in and get it tight, and then I make it tight, and then look. See? You hear that? That's what you want. And you want, when your finger goes up, that it has resistance on the blades. Okay? So that's what we want. So, okay, I'm getting my bench pen back on here because we're almost done cutting that flower. Now, at first, you're probably going to break a lot of blades. That's okay. They're not super expensive. But if you use the technique that I was showing you earlier, first thing we do is put a little burr lube on the back of our blade. Okay? Be sure it's got a little zing to it. And you can't go back all the way through because that will just put a lot of undue pressure on your saw blade. So what I do when I have a break is, you see where it broke? It broke right on at the edge of the swing of this pedal. So I'm going to go in. You want to hold it on either side. I'm doing this so you can see, but usually you have a finger on either side. And I'll go in to where it broke, to my stop area. I'm going to do it slowly so I don't cut into the pedal. And then you can see I am right, there we go. Okay, we'll get that out of the way. I'm going to rip this little piece of paper off here. It's getting in my way. And that's what we have left to do. You see that? Okay, so now I can go back in and go around and finish up. So that's what we're going to do real quick. So then I worked for that guy that I was just telling you about for probably about a year. And this is back when you made $6 an hour and we're happy about it. So, you know, but I was learning, and that was invaluable time. I learned a lot in that shop. Then another shop who had 3 stores, and it carried designer stuff. That was like right at the beginning of David Yurman, John Atencio, really cool designers. You have to look those guys up if you don't know them. They carried that kind of stuff. So they're a real hoity-toity kind of place. And he had 3 stores. But the owner was kind of a stinker. And I was very young, of course. And there were not a lot of women in my industry as a bench jeweler during that time. So he was kind of the kind of person that was a bit of a male chauvinist, if you know what I mean. So even though he hired me, he had to convince people to trust me. Yet even though I was a young girl, I had good ideas and good designs. So that was, you know, it was a lot. But I got through it. I worked with these 2 guys in the shop, an older gentleman and a younger gentleman. I learned a lot from them. They were so funny. And we had a really good time. And I was the designer, they were the bench jewelers. So that was kind of fun. But then, oh, here's another flower, all ready to go. As I remove this, I'll finish my story. So then the guy decides, the owner, hey, we should make a line, a cool line. It could be just for us, you know, like a designer would. And we can sell it all over. I said, okay, you know, but could I have, you know, either a small raise or name credit or something? He wouldn't do that. At that point, I was making like maybe $7 an hour. I don't remember, but it was a little bit of a raise from the other place. He was going to give me no name credit, no raise, no nothing. So I said, no, thank you. And let me tell you, he was not happy. He didn't fire me, but he was certainly not happy. But you always have to stand up for yourself as an artist and designer. People will take advantage of you. That was something I had to learn early. I think I was 22. You see these guys? And they're kind of thick too. This is that 18 gauge metal. I used it just a little thicker, so that way as we can carve on it a little more, and we're gonna make it really sculptural. Now these flowers are not going to be flat. They're going to be 3D. They're going to be, you know, we're gonna make them into little mini sculptures of flowers. Okay, so I'm going to actually show you that trick again that I showed on the other video. We're going to use rubber cement. And I've got to cut out these leaves. I've got a lot of leaves and the buds to cut out. So that's what I'm going to do next. All right. So like I was saying in the other video, I save all my pieces from other projects because you can always use them again, as you can see. So since it's a little bigger, I'm going to do these couple big leaves on here. But I have one big leaf over there. I need to see if I've got a piece, and I do, a piece big enough for that leaf. So maybe I'll cut that guy out here by himself, see, because I'm doing little bits at a time. I'm not doing this all on one big piece of paper, on one big piece of metal. I'm going to cut that guy out. These are my solder snips. They're really not meant to cut paper, but use what you got on the bench. Okay, so there's those guys. So I'm going to put him on here. I think, yeah, see, it should work. Can you see that? I'll hold it up so you can see. It just barely fits on this piece of metal. But see, I'm going to save, use that scrap to make it work. See, so save all your pieces. So what we're going to do is we're going to flip it over, okay? We're going to flip that over. It'll go inverted onto here when we're ready. Okay, let's see how these will fit. So I'm going to have to cut this as well from my drawing. And now see, I'm doing the elements. I'm cutting out all the elements for, if you remember, this brooch. But you can see all the different elements I have to cut out, and then we're going to assemble it. So this is complicated, but it's just showing you different techniques. This is a customer piece, so this is what they want me to do. So cut that little leaf out. So we'll have, say, these two here, and then this other one here. So that'll work out good. All right. If you can hear somebody talking, that's just my son. He's gaming in the other room. He just got home from work and he is chilling out. So if you hear somebody else talking, that's who it is. It's my son playing video games. All right. There we go. All right. So see, this would probably be one of these guys. All right. See, I'm cutting out elements. All right. So that's the back side there and the back side here. Blowing off the dust. All right. So let's go ahead and paint our silver. We're going to put a very thin bit of rubber cement. Mine's getting dried out. You got to always close the lid as best you can on both the metal and the piece of paper, and the back side of the piece of paper. We want the drawing to be face up. So you can see I'm putting it on the back, and it's getting sticky. There we go. I'm going to use a file to hold this down while I'm taking it off here. Just fold it over. All right. And I got to do this piece of metal too here, a thin coat of rubber cement. And then we have to allow both sides to dry really well. Kind of blow on it a little bit. All right. All right, so then gotta let it get more dry. Okay, see? So I'm gonna place it right where, oh, and once you pull it up, once it's down, it's down. Okay, do you see that? All right. And then this guy will go over here. There we go. And you see how I have that spaced? Oh, there's plenty of room for all three of these leaves on this piece of sheet here. And then this guy, if you remember, will fit perfectly over here. And I want to be sure to get all the curls of the leaf in there. And I did. There's plenty of room. All right. And any extra rubber cement just rubs off with your finger if you need to for some reason. Okay. And then you can always, you just want to be able, I got a little close over here to the line, but usually you want a little room so that you have plenty of room to cut with your blade. So here we go again. I'm going to try to see, we'll get through them kind of quick. I'm going to put the V from the bench pen forward just a little bit because it's kind of back on my, there was part of this tabletop was blocking my V to cut. Okay, here I go. On your mark, get set, go. All right. Can you see? I'm just trying to get through it real quick and then we can start figuring out what we're going to do next. And it's going to come right off the end here because it's just a small piece of material, so I don't have to turn it. There you go. Boom. There's one part. And now I'm on the other. Almost looks like a little yin-yang sign there. It's kind of cute. So a lot of times I'll use my finger, and this is why my fingernails always look terrible. They actually look pretty good right now. But I use kind of my fingernail to run the blade next to, kind of to give me a start on the metal. It keeps it from slipping. So yeah, and sometimes you're not going to have a manicure if you're a serious jeweler. So here we go. But I always paint my toenails. I always have my toes painted. Do it myself. But I'm a bit of a thrifty person. Color my own hair. I even cut my hair at home. It's pretty funny. It looks okay. Nobody knows. But now you do. Okay, so here's one little leaf. See? Look how pretty. The black on the back was just when I drew on this piece of silver with a marker. I do that sometimes. Okay, so there's one leaf. Oh, look, we've still got other leaves up here too. I forgot about those guys. We're going to do that as well. All right, let's get through these three real quick. So we've got 2 flower petals. Let's go ahead and take the paper off. If you remember, we can just rub it right off. See? Comes right off. No residue. That's what's so great about this. No residue, nothing smoky when you solder it. Okay, so I'm going to start this leaf here. Here we go. I'm going to go ahead and just cut it all the way to the end. It's easier than turning for such a small area. And I just let my little piece drop into the drawer of my bench. That is something you don't need a jeweler's bench, but let me tell you what. You can either build one or, you can buy a cheap one. They last forever. This bench I've had, my son is going to be 28, and this I bought when he was a baby, and I'm using the same bench. I just love it. You can see all my Chinese sayings, wrappers. I've got them taped all over. Let's see. I don't even know if I can read that one anymore. You're capable, competent, and creative. Cool. All right. Well, here we go. We're getting through it pretty quick. Now I am going to use that turning thing that I taught you earlier. I'm going to bring this all the way down. And I'm going to run that burr lube up the back, lubrication there. And you can hear my dog barking. Sorry about that. I'm working at home. Okay, we're going to turn. And there you did it. And there I did it. See? Okay. He probably hears an Amazon truck somewhere. He's not a big fan of Amazon. Funny. Okay, there's another leaf. And I can see it can go pretty quick once you get good at it. It just takes practice. You'll get it. You might get frustrated at first, but if you keep your hands like I showed you, thumb at the back, these 4 fingers kind of loose, you know, where it's just, you're just barely holding it, your thumb actually holding this up. But then, you know, you keep your blade up and down rather than side to side, and it works pretty darn well. I'm not saying you won't burn out your blade from, you know, just from use, break it or just wear it. I just wear them down sometimes. If you keep it lubricated and do it properly, they'll last you a long time. But don't get frustrated if you break them. It's no big deal. So you're hearing my dog and potentially my son. I'm in the basement. The furnace just kicked on. So my life is not perfect, but this isn't a shiny studio that influencers use. This is real life. This is my life. So I'm sharing that with you guys. Reason being is, if I didn't say so in this video, I've been doing this over 30 years. And it's been a great career, and I love it. And it's a lot of fun, and you meet a lot of cool people. And I just thought, you know, nobody ever taught me anything as far as, you know, how to run a business, how to do things. So, you know, anything I can do to help out somebody else, I'm gonna try to share all that with you guys. So we'll do techniques, but we'll also talk about business stuff, how to do, I'm really good at how to have an art fair, how to join it, how to, you know, participate, how to set up a tent, you know, how to keep things from blowing away in the wind. You freeze your water bottles solid, at least one. On a hot summer day, it melts down and you always have cold water. That's really cool, a good idea. I did art fairs forever when my boys were young. Before I opened my shop, that's all I did. And it was a lot of fun. I don't miss it though, that's for sure. I like my comfortable little studio. This is my basement, but my retail studio is pretty darn comfortable. I love all the people in my building, so it makes it a win. Okay, so we got those guys, and now we only have one more bunch to cut out. All right, we'll throw those in the drawer. Okay, so this is another leaf here. Okay, that's another leaf. But these down here, these 2 parts and these 3 little things here, those are going to be the bud. Because if you got a close look at the drawing, there's a bud right here. Okay, and it's got like that little area at the bottom, and then it's kind of round. It's going to be rounded like an actual bud is. It's just going to be half. It's going to be hollow, but it's just the idea of having some dimension. So that's what we're doing right here. We're going to cut those guys out. So we need to find little pieces to have our leaves on. Let's see what fits. We might have to do these individually as well. So that's a shame. Too bad we don't have one big piece, but I'm too cheap to get another big piece out. So, okay. So let's go ahead and cut down our little leaves here and buds. There we go. 1. Let's see what'll fit. I just had a funny flashback to the Tootsie Roll commercial. I'm a 70s baby. I don't know if anybody remembers the Tootsie Roll owl. 1, 2, 3, crunch. That's what it made me think of. Okay, sorry, I'm silly. Random thoughts. From the Jeweler's Bench. That should be a new podcast. Yeah, actually, this will fit on there, I think. To take these 3 little guys off by themselves here. All right. I'm used to music and things. I don't usually work in quiet. I usually have some kind of music, some kind of something going. So this is kind of hard for me with all these videos. I don't want to have too much going on in the background because there already is a lot going on in the background. So you guys can hear what I'm saying. Yeah, that fits. Yay. Okay, and then we'll have this little guy here. All right, so I'm going to finish these pieces and I will come back on the next video and we'll start figuring out how to assemble them. All right, see you soon.